can also go back to this. I'm recording it. Okay, so when I'm saying that my x2 is taking a value 0, so okay, now forget about this branch. Forget about this, just consider this guy, okay? So the probability that my x2 will be 0 is equal to what? This should be equal to the probability that my y2 will be 0. Then only my x1 is 0 and x2 will be 0 as well. So now to figure out the probability that my y2 will be 0, what do I have to do? I have to substitute instead of n 1, so that I get the probability of y2 equal to 1, and then I can just subtract from it. So if I subtract, so let us say we figure this thing first. Okay, what is the probability that should come on this arrow? So for 1, we have the formula with us, 1 by 4, 1 plus xn upon n. So my xn is 0. I've already assumed this. So that part is just going to be 0. So you are left with 1 by 4. So that is how you get this 1 by 4. And then 1 minus 1 by 4, 3 by 4 here for this guy. And now if you try to do the same thing for this person, what you have here is from 1 to 2. So let us see what is the probability that in x1 you have 1 and in x2 you will have 2. This should be equal to the probability that you at least have one accident, right? So you will have to figure out the probability that your y2 is 1. So now you put your n as 1 again, but now your xn is 1. So if you substitute xn as 1, you get 1 upon 1. So 1 plus 1, 2 in the bracket, and then 2 upon 4, which is a half. So now you have this half here and 1 minus again here. And the same thing you do it for these arrows as well again.
Can you explain that part again from 1 to 1 and 2?
Okay, let me maybe try to write. Okay, so when I'm talking about 1 to 2, what is the probability that I will go from this 1 to this 2? This is when I have my y2 as taking the value 1, right?
Yes.
So what I'm looking at is
At
y.
least one accident, right?
Yeah, so I'm looking at my y2 being equal to 1, right? So the probability that my y, okay, this is average. So I'm looking at the probability that my y2 is 1. Now, if I look at the formula that they have given to me, this has n plus 1, right? So if I use to calculate what my n for this should be, my n comes out to be 1, right? So now if I use the formula, I have 1 by 4 here. And then what I'm trying to do now is 1 plus upon n. N I know is 1. But what is my xn? My xn I take from here. Because if my n is 1, my x1 is 1. So I just write a 1 here. And this is 2 by 4, a half. So the probability that your y2 will take a value 1 is a half. And then 1 minus that will be the value that it will take 0.
Got it.
1 to 1, just a half. So previously when you had 0 here, the number you will write here is 0, which is why you just had 1 by 4. Savri, does this make sense to you?
Yes, clear.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any more doubts with this question?
No, ma'am.
They should have put in this link thing that they have at the end of chapter questions in the revision booklet as well. Now I have to go back all the way. Oh wow, 22 was your next doubt, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm so happy. All right. What is the doubt exactly in this? Oh, this question is really nice.
Just explain that part. Third or last part means where they have combined. Yeah, this one, second one.
Okay. Okay, so just let me know if I remember this question vaguely. Okay, this kind of questions I really like. Did you guys calculate the transition probabilities? Because I think you'll have to take into account that there is nothing happening after this C guy here, so there will be some sort of adjustment that you'll have to make. But I guess okay. So the second question is about estimating the probability that United will win at least 2 of the next 3 matches against City. Okay, so The very important word here is next. Why? Can you guys think? Why is this next important here? Yeah. Can you guys think? Why is this next word very important in this case?
Is it because it means that from the upcoming fixtures, the United should win at least 2 matches. So we'll count the win from the previous, if you consider the previous range,
I couldn't hear you after we'll count the.
like ma'am, in the draws they are given like U, C, C, D, D, like
Yes.
there. So the question is asking us, United will win at least 2 of the next 3 matches.
Yes.
So first we can consider that United will win at least the next 2. So the first, where U comes 2 times and there is C once. So C U will be one.
Yeah, so that is fine, right? Because what they are saying is to estimate the probability that United will win at least two of the next three matches. So we can do all the possible combinations that we can have, where United is winning two times and where City is losing one time, or when United is winning all of the three times, and then City is basically losing all the three times. But then that still doesn't explain the importance of this next here. What does this precisely mean?
Is it that we should consider minimum three jumps, like from this match, the next, and like uh, after today's match, we are considering next three matches. So there should be minimum three transitions.
So I think what the very first few words of your answer is what I was looking for. After this match, right? So they are saying of the next three matches. So they aren't saying that any of the next three matches. They are saying now the last match was the match won by City. And now they are talking about the next three matches. So when we have these next three matches, these are the transitions that we'll be looking for. But the information we know is that today I mean, today City has won the match. So whenever we'll be looking at the probabilities, you will have to start from, City to U or City to City or City to draw, if that comes in the picture. So something like that you'll have. Let me just go to the answer once. I'm lazy to write all the possibilities now. But again, so I think previously when I was talking about possibilities, I didn't include the draw. So you'll also, oh, you see, I said something.
Ma'am, actually the doubt is cleared. We just had the same doubt that why every like we when we didn't get the answer by ourselves, we look at the solution, and they
Uh-huh.
every time started it with C. So we're just confused at why it is always starting with C.
Oh, okay,
So
okay. That is
yeah,
just to
so
account for the,
yeah.
because see, whenever you write transition matrix, yes, if you see here, the transition matrix, you should know, right, what distribution you have to look at. So now if you know you're at C, then you would know what is the probability that you will be at U and C and D respectively in the next match. So, okay, yeah, this bracketed C. Oh, okay, yeah, I see. Didn't they explain this? We can find this. Yeah, yeah, fine. But your doubt is clear, you say. Mihir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I should try that. Okay, now what was the next term?
26.
26, 24, 25. I like 26. It is my birthday. Okay, but yeah, what's your doubt with this question?
Again, I couldn't exactly like define the states and the transition diagram.
Okay, let us try to solve this. Yes, again, sports. Are any of you guys into sports? Is any of you guys into sports? Any kind of sport?
I play table tennis, but not like professional. Just
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
even I
not
used
too
to
much
play
into sports like
badminton,
that.
but
That is
not.
why I don't really like this sports kind of questions. But I can't help it. Okay, so just kidding. Okay, the previous teacher who used to teach CT4, he was very much into football. He used to really enjoy this kind of questions. He used to go off bit and explain other stuff as well. But that goes right above my head. Alright, so let's stick to the question. A sports league has two divisions. Okay, so Division 1 is higher in ranking than Division 2. So the one team which is in the bottom in Division 1 goes to Division 2, and the one which is in the top in Division 2 goes to Division 1. I'm just going to call it 1 and 2. Forget about the divisions. So 1 and 2, okay. Analysis of the movements of things indicate that. Oh, okay. Oh, the probabilities are as follows. Okay, so they have given us the probability that if you finish on top, oh, so the probability that you will finish on top if you were promoted in the previous season is 0.1. So now we can clearly see, right? You can only be promoted from 2 to 1, and you can only be relegated from 1 to 2. Does this make sense? And whenever we have this thing, if neither promoted nor relegated in the previous session, this means that you were neither in the bottom of Division 1, and you were neither in the top of Division 2. So that is when you neither get promoted or get relegated. Okay. So now they're talking about write down the minimum number of states required to model this as a Markov chain. Okay. So this is also the kind of um, question where I say we'll have to expand the states. So as of now, we can think of state 1 and state 2, where you're in state 1 if you are in division 1, and state 2 if you are in division 2. But now I see that the probabilities that I will be in either of these states also sometimes depend. So first thing, it depends on whether if I am in the top or in the bottom. And if I finish in the top or bottom, depends whether I was promoted or relegated or if nothing happened to me in the previous season. So I will have to take whatever has happened to me in the previous season into account in the states that I defined. So the very first thing that comes to my mind now is one promoted, two promoted, no, no, wait. So with one you can have relegation, and with two you can have promotion. So what we can think of is one relegated, one R, and one NR. Then 2P and 2NP, where 2NP will be if you are in 2 and you were not promoted in the previous state, in the previous season. And if you are in 1R, then you were relegated. No, no. Wait. From if you go from 1 to 2, you get relegated, but you can reach 2 only through relegation. Okay, so you will have 2R and 2NR, and you will have 1P and 1NP. Does this make sense to you guys? Let me just write. So the way I'm thinking now is that you can have 1, 2, 2, and now you can reach 2 if you are relegated in the previous season, and you can reach 2 if you were not relegated in the previous season, which means you were in 2, so you stay in 2 or something like that. In 1 you can either be promoted to 1, or you can be are not promoted in the previous season. So that would mean you are just still in 1 in the previous season, and you're still in 1, but again you are never finishing in the bottom. So let's say if I start with these states, let's see what happens. Now, if I want to go from 1P to 1NP, what will be the transition rate? Oh, so first of all, do you guys understand the way I've tried to split the steps here? So I've split it 1 and 2. So again, what I thought, okay, so maybe let me just do not much of writing, but much of thinking. So the way I thought about this was what are the various possible ways I can reach to division 1, right? Because I know that whatever happens to me from today depends on how I have reached here, if I was promoted or whether I was not promoted, right? Because the probability that you will finish in the top of, let's say division 2, that will depend if you were promoted in the previous season, or if you are relegated, or if if neither of these things happened to you. So now if you can take this into account, then it will be very good for us. So what I see is, what are the various possible ways I can reach state 1? So what could I have done in the previous season? So there is no way you could be relegated to state 1, right? Because relegation is like one step degradation. And then you have promotion, which is from 2 to 1. So you know that you can only be promoted to division 1. So I have one promoted and one not promoted. For 2, I know I can never be promoted to 2, because there's nothing that exists in lower ranking than 2 division. So I can only be relegated to second division. That is why I create 2R and 2NR. Does this make sense to you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me just check this first, because if this, I think this is what it should be, because if this turns out to be something else, 26, what was that? 21. Yeah, 1 and, oh wait, what? Yeah, 4 states. Okay, yeah, exactly. So for them, not okay, yeah, because I mean 1N and 2N, it doesn't matter if they both have N, because this means not promoted and this means not relegated. Just give me a minute. Okay, yeah, so I guess this is what we have. Do you guys have doubts in the probabilities as well?
Yes, ma'am. Can you just show that?
Okay. Oh, I should try remembering the. Okay, this is 144. Okay, remember you guys. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have confirmed our states, we can just try to figure out these probabilities. Okay, so let us just consider one particular probability. So let us say if I am, okay, I'll just have to remind myself, 1122, 1P, 1MP, 2R, 2NR. Okay, so now let us try to see one probability here, and then we'll try to fit in input this. But I mean, that is how I want to go about it. You can also try to just put an arrow and then try to figure out its probability. But I think it's easier for me to go from this guy to this guy. So I see that if I was promoted in the previous season, then the probability that I will finish in the bottom is what I want to see, right? So this makes much more sense to me now. So what I'm trying to see is, if I was promoted in the previous season, the probability that I will finish in the bottom. So I know that I can only be promoted when I'm in state 1. So let's say I'm in 1P, which means I was promoted in the previous season. So, and only if you happen to be in the bottom, then you will be again, going down to 2. And that would mean that you were relegated. So I think the probability that you will go from 1P to 2R is 0.3. Does this match? Let us see. 144 from 1P to 2R. Yes, 0.3, right? What was that number? All right. So now for me, I discarded this, because when I'm at top and when I'm at other, it doesn't. I mean, nothing happens to me, right? So I know that if I have been promoted and if I go in the bottom, I will be transferred to state 2. So I created this transition first. Then the next thing I see is, let's say if I were relegated in the previous season, and now if I'm at the top, then this 0.25 will be from 2R to 1. Okay, so again, no wait. So if you are relegated in the previous season, that means you are at 2R. Okay, so now you are at 2R, but you want to see where do you go next. So do you go to 1P or do you go to 1NP? So if I'm relegated in the previous season and I top this year, which will happen with the probability of 0.2. Okay, this is very difficult for me, so I'm not going to do this first. Let me just check about these other people. So if relegated previous season, okay, so if I was relegated in the previous season and if I'm at the bottom, then what will happen to me? I am just making a transition, right? Because I was in the same state as I started off in. Does this make sense to you guys? So let's say if I was relegated in the previous state, which is when I find myself in 2R, and now if I want to see what is the probability that I will again find myself in 2R, so that cannot quite happen, right? Because the very fact that you are in 2R represents that you were relegated in the previous state, in the previous season. So there is no way you can be relegated any further. So this is just going to be 0. So now you can go from 2R to 2NR, which will represent, I guess, the addition of these two, the bottom and the other guy. So it will be 0.75 here. So you will have 0.75 here. Does this make sense to you guys? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay,
Ma'am.
does this make sense? 0.75?
Yes.
All right. हो गया ये last out है. Just give me.
बस एक बार बोला फटाफट.
Sorry guys. Okay, so let us try to continue. So again, I'm going to ignore this for now because I am confused. Okay, maybe we can try to see what's happening here. So we have, if relegated in the previous season, that means we are starting at 2R. But okay, so okay, this is simple, right? So if I was relegated in the previous season, I know for sure that I wasn't promoted in the previous season. So you will go from, there's only way you can go, so there's only one possibility, which is from 2R to 1NP. And that will happen with, okay, again, sorry guys. Okay, so what I was trying to say is, Do you guys get the logic when I said this 0.25 represents the probability that I transit from 2R to 1 NP? Does this make sense to you guys? Savi and Mihir, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think now can you guys figure out the rest of these probabilities by your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
We will
ma'am.
try, and if there is any doubt, we'll ask.
Yeah, because
Yes, ma'am.
I think you should go. I mean I can do this here, or maybe you can do it right now, and then we'll see where you guys Okay, so let us do it right now itself. So we have done from 1P to 2R. So we have accounted for this, we have accounted for this, and we have accounted for this guy, right? So let us try to see where can we fit this guy. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys like the approach that I'm taking, but this is how my mind works. So again, your mind can work in like opposite fashion. You might just take a transition here and then try to figure out its probability. But for me to go from this table to this is much more easy. So can you guys try to see where can I fit this 0.1? I mean, so if I was promoted in the previous season, then that means I am in 1P, right? Do you guys agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now if I'm in 1P, which is I'm in division 1, and then if I'm at the top in division 1, and if I'm, let's say, neither at the bottom nor at the top in division 1, then what happens to me? Do I go to division 1, or I mean, do I go to division 2, or do I stay in division 1? What
It will
happens?
be in like,
Division 1.
Right? So but again, you were promoted in the previous season, so in today's season you didn't get any promotion, because I mean there's no promotion beyond 1. So you know that there is nothing that happened to you in today. So when you calculate the probability of tomorrow, you're essentially calculating this. So you will add this 0.1 and 0.6 to get to from 1P to 1 NP. So this I think should be 0.7. Does this make sense?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and in the similar way, you should try to account for these probabilities, and the rest of them, then you can just do 1 minus stuff. So let's say from 1P to 1P, 1, I mean 2R to 2R is not possible, and that will be 0. So try to use logic, and I guess you will get there. Okay, so now I want you guys to try for these 3 here and think aloud, just the way I was doing it right now. So tell me what does this tell me? Think aloud. It doesn't matter what you think is right or wrong, but I just want you guys to um, say aloud whatever is coming to your mind, or whatever it is that you're thinking right now, so that I can see what direction your mind is working in.
Ma'am, it's in top, so it will be going to 1P, right? Like, I don't know from where exactly, but it will be going to 1P.
It will be going to 1P. You see that this is in top, so it should be gone to 1P. Okay, and why do you think? Savri, if I may ask you, if this was neither promoted nor relegated, then let's say if I top being in Division 1, then will still hold true? Will that still
No,
hold
ma'am.
true? No, right?
No, ma'am. No.
So think. Mihir, what do you think?
Ma'am, if neither promoted nor relegated means, suppose we are from 2NR, and
Yes,
from 2NR we have to go to the top of the table. So uh, for this we can't go to 2R, right? Because it is a state of relegated.
yes,
And not promoted means from first it is in the division 1 and it is staying in the division 1 only. So from
yes.
2R it can go to 1P.
Yeah, that is what this is, right? Savri, does this make sense to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Savri, can you?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
It's clear? Okay. So now let's talk about this 0.15. Okay, let us just first talk about this 0.7. What does this 0.7 tell you?
Ma'am, just like Neer said, like we can't go from 2 NR to 1 NP and 2R. So it will be from 2 NR to 2 NR or 2 NR, and we'll add 0.7 and 0.15.
It will be from 2NR to 2NR.
Yes.
Uh, let me think about that. If you are in 2NR today, yeah, I mean, you're of course either
Yeah.
starting in 2NR or you'll be starting in 1NR, right? Okay, yeah, exactly right. So I think, yeah, so you'll basically add both of these and you will get the probability that you are in the same state. Perfect. So I guess now that we have accounted for these, you'll have to do some one minus stuff and the rest, and then you'll figure out the rest of the probabilities, I think. So does this make sense now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
What was the next doubt?
Ma'am, this was the last
For
doubt.
the last one.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect. So actually, yeah, this is, I mean, these questions are actually really, really good. These are really good. Let me just stop the recording. Stop the recording.